Oh,
Oh,
damn.
it's
Yeah,
setting
yeah.
up.
It said got it.
They just give you the little. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it said got it. You know, like,
Yay!
yo,
Oh,
yo,
can we even talk about
I don't even
that?
know, yo. I know y'all missed us.
Yay!
Don't,
I know.
you don't have to front, you know.
It's okay.
We
It's
still
okay.
here. We still doing our thing.
We miss you guys too.
We just pushing through pandemic shit.
Crazy. Like all the craziness in the world. It's really nice to be back doing this. How have you been? You want to give like a quick update on life? How's it
Update
going?
on life. It's going. You know, I don't even know if I gotta. I don't even know if I can fully process, things I've been going through. Some things I forget. Some things I just want to forget. But
Could I please?
but we good. I mean,
Right?
roof over the head, food in the belly. Which is more
Uh,
than a majority or a big portion of the planet. So I want to make sure that I
yeah,
always remember gratitude, even when I'm going through my
right?
shit. You know,
Yeah.
how about
Yes.
your end?
I mean, kind of the same. It's been like a long couple months, um, filled with just kind of all the same nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nothing. It's like nothing extraordinary, but also everything just like mind blowing. Like, how did that even happen? It
Right.
happened. It's been kind of strange, but same. Like, we got a roof, we got four walls, we got our health, we got food, we got
Right.
friends, we got a lot of
See,
good things. Things are good. Things are good. Things are just kind of like finally settling for both of us again at the same time, so we can be back here doing all the good shit,
good, good,
all the
good,
good
good.
work.
You know, so like as we were talking about it, earlier
Yeah.
in terms of this is our seventh episode. Damn. You know what I'm saying? The last
Proud of us.
episode that's up, if people ain't check it out, we went over
Oh, right.
some mental health. We went over about, some of our experience with mental health services, mental
Mm-hmm.
health within the Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. Um,
Right.
and now we're talking about the end of the world. Well, we talk about climate change.
The end
and,
of the world.
and environmental racism, you know what I'm saying? Basically just,
Right.
apocalyptic shit.
Yeah. It doesn't sound good.
Nah. It doesn't sound good, but let me read that quote though that I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for. Someone posted this quote. It's a meme or whatever, but it's it reflects on how I do a lot of my talks when I do hood health talks. And
Okay.
the quote is like dystopian fiction is when you take things that happen in real life to marginalized populations and apply them to people with privilege. You know,
Burn. Yeah. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
one of the things that I always talk when I'm talking about hood health shit is that I love sci-fi, but all these sci-fi disaster movies and stuff are, basically, you know, privileged white people talking about, yo, we gotta watch out because
Finding.
this is gonna happen in the future. Black and brown communities have been living in dystopian conditions for as long as I've been alive. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So
Yes.
anything that they're talking about is coming is already an issue. One major thing, there's whole many environmental racism things that are so major and minor um, that we ain't gonna be able to get into it. But two things I just wanted to like while they're in my head, I wanted to point out. One, being, moving to Portland, you know,
Different world.
it's been crazy because like they had these
Yeah.
heat waves and I literally have never been as hot as I was during these heat waves in my life. And I've been in hot
Yes.
places. I've been like Baltimore in the summertime in a suit during a
Right.
freaking church religious service back when I was
Right.
little. I've been
Right.
to tropical rainforests in Africa. I ain't never been this hot because it literally was otherworldly hotness. But the two things about
Right.
it that I want to point out is that especially places that I've seen graphed out like New York and
Mm.
other urban cities in Portland, there's even with the heat distribution in a
Right.
city, those places that are marginalized communities, it's hotter in those places than even other parts of the city during a heat wave.
Right. Right. Right.
That's environmental structural racism in terms of how many people are
It
placed
is
in the
so.
areas, how the
Right.
buildings
Right.
are
Right.
built. And then I saw this crazy bullshit shit, which is that some landlords, a lot of
Mhm.
landlords here in Portland, it's illegal for you to put in an air conditioning unit
Oh, right, right,
in your
right.
window. And I'm
Yes,
just like, huh?
and provide air conditioning and
Yeah, right? Because none of those landlords are living without air conditioning. See,
right.
this is that's that pork shit right there. Like y'all
Well,
are,
that's I don't understand being a landlord. I really don't. It's like you are because first of all, they complain about everything. I've never, for the brief time that I was like a landlord in the sense that like I was responsible for the home that I was sharing with another person, so whatever happened, like I didn't own it, but I was responsible to the owner to right for that. It was really annoying just being like, I feel like I have to micromanage everything because I'm not willing to take responsibility for what you do. Even being a landlord is such a weird, it's just like, let people have their own homes. Just
right,
stop trying to fucking monopolize everything. Let people have their own homes because that's the other end of it. When you're the one who's responsible for making sure that the water runs and you're responsible for making sure that there's air conditioning in the unit. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I think people become more innovative, right? It's like
yeah,
you will find ways, but it's just like people deserve that freedom and that responsibility. That's really the whole landlord thing is another weird that to me is just like it's not sustainable. It's one more thing that's not sustainable, right? That
right.
is like adding to the climate crisis in the sense that hey, first of all, people absolutely need air conditioning. That's ridiculous. Like we all know how hot it is here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And those areas also, once again, those areas with marginalized people, we talk about black, brown people, people who,
Right.
are elderly. We talk about people who, fall on the lower scale in terms of finances. These areas
Yeah.
also, in terms of air quality, it's worse in those areas
Hi.
also.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Like
all these things tie in.
here.
Right.
The absolute worst. I
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
cannot.
I have to get used to that. In terms of literally check it, like on the East Coast, what I usually used to check for is the pollen count, right? That's pretty much all I used to go
Oh,
to,
right.
or the humidity, But here, like, I literally
Right.
now have to get used to checking like air quality level, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, that's a thing. It
2 3
shouldn't
times
be,
a day. Yeah.
yeah, it shouldn't be, but I'm doing it every day now,
Yeah.
because I could tell the difference now, and it's
Right.
crazy to me, you know.
Right.
But this is the problem in terms of with climate change. One is that, you know, uh, due to just pollution and corporations and all this fucking, capitalism bullshit, you know, the weather patterns have been fucked up, right? But
Yeah.
then on
Yeah.
top of it, the fucking institutional, architecture, institutional racism has then created scenarios where, yeah, the weather is better, and our ability to adapt or to deal with weather
Mm.
disasters is bad because we fuck shit up in terms of structures,
Right.
which is what
Yeah.
also is happening down in the Gulf right now with the hurricane, right?
It's literally something is literally happening everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
Right. And when you see people like make like certain statements, I remember I was looking at people making statements online. It's like, well, if people know a hurricane is coming, why don't they just get up and go? And I was like, you
How?
have, first of all, the person saying that probably cannot move to another
Right.
apartment right now. Like to move to another
Right.
apartment in your own city requires a lot, let alone to just
Let alone out of state. Yeah.
right, just pick up and move. And then also it's other little things. It's like, okay, cities, what percentage of the people in these marginalized communities actually have vehicles?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah. Because they're not necessarily. It's a not unnecessary, but it's just kind of an extra expense when
exactly.
you're somewhere you could likely walk or take public transit everywhere. Cars become, why are you paying the payment and the insurance if you can catch the bus or walk?
Exactly. There's another quote that I
Yep.
ran across this goose here. He said, I just ran into one of the security guards in my building. I asked if she was evacuating. She said, on my salary, either I can evacuate or I can pay my rent on the first. I can't do both. And it said, I wish more people
Well,
understood that everyone doesn't have the privilege to evacuate. And that's real. You know what I'm saying? Like we saw like after
yeah.
Katrina, you know, like even when people's whole buildings were destroyed, that none of these landlords wanted to give up any money. You know what I'm saying? Or
Mm.
like the buildings were literally unhabitable. But landlords just
Oh
like, yo,
yeah, they've been destroyed.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I still need that rent, even though like the rug is all moldy and shit and it's dangerous. Like I still need that rent, you know. So we talk about
Yep.
climate change or environmental, racism. You know, it's a double whammy when it comes to marginalized communities because already, like I said, the major corporations, the major bigwigs, stuff have already fucked up the environment to cause these fucking
Right.
weather disasters, and then you're at the
Right.
low end of the fucking um
Mm.
uh you're at the low end of the
Terrible.
totem
Yeah.
pole. So I just got
Yeah.
past the note and by my peoples, the PLW here. Um
Here it is.
and she just sent me this for anyone who's a BIPOC, Black Indigenous person of color, who's looking for mutual aid for the hurricane. There's a website, anothergulf.com forward slash or backward slash. I always forget forward slash or backward.
I know. How does it? I'm the same way.
Try both of them.
The slash goes
I
forward. I don't know.
yeah, IDA. So it's anothergulf.com slash IDA, IDA. And this
We'll
is
drop that in the comments. Yeah.
it's a BIPOC mutual aid for IDA. You know what I'm saying? So
Always coming through. Thanks for that,
yeah,
child.
she always come through, on the low, you know. But it's which is important because we also has to be solutionary, right? We can't just talk about these problems that are fucked up because one,
right.
Who gives a fuck? Meaning like who's going to listen?
Everybody
anyway?
knows. Yeah, everybody knows.
Right. You know,
my favorite thing about like breast cancer awareness. I'm like, you mean to tell me there are people that aren't aware of breast cancer? You have to have a month. Why don't we dedicate a month to like making sure people are taken care of and everybody is getting their you know what I mean? It's like everybody's aware, everyone knows.
Right.
Yeah, you have to have solutions.
Right. You know, so how have you been experiencing in terms of these weather climate dystopian condition times that we're in right now?
Like you were just saying, how like it's about being able to figure out like how to survive. Not everybody has the option to leave when they know that things are coming. When we had the fires here last year, because last year on September 8th, 1 week from the year anniversary,
wow,
my whole fucking valley caught on fire, and we evacuated. We were gone for almost 3 weeks.
Damn.
And the fire was close. Like all the things that I grew up with, not nothing, but it's like a solid 80% of my valley is different now. Like landmarks that I grew up my whole life, took my kids to, wiped out. Nothing that was taken out looks the same.
Wow.
And most of it hasn't even grown all the way back. Like some of it still, there's a lot of like fresh green that has come from the spring and through the summer, but a lot of it's still charred and just like not back yet either. It's a lot of construction, just like gone. But with that, I mean, we were able to get out and it was super stressful. It was very stressful conditions. Like I guarantee had me and my children not already spent a significant portion of our time homeless and basically living in a car off and on for 7 months, I would not have known what to do in that situation.
See?
But because I've already been where it's like we have nothing, like either I fight to keep us in a home and I'm at work all the time and so I can pay bills and like the rest of our life falls apart, or I just fucking we have nothing but our car and each other and we'll figure it out from there, right?
Right.
Because I already had that experience and I already knew that we would survive it, it was easy. As soon as once I saw the black smoke billowing in our sky here, it's like that fire is gonna reach our neighborhood. We gotta get out of here. And we left 4 hours before they came and evacuated our block. A lot of our people here couldn't leave. And I mean, we were lucky our neighborhood did not burn down, blah, blah, blah. But it was PTSD like crazy because we were not homeless this time. We got to go back and forth between my sister and my partner's house, which is awesome. They were both in Washington. So we were lucky, but we were still living out of a van. We never really unpacked or got comfortable everywhere. You got to come home, you got to rebuild, you have to start all over again if you have a home to come to.
Right.
And the air quality. So it's like for the past 8 consecutive summers now, there hasn't been a single summer where we don't have to check the air quality. The kids go weeks at a time, sometimes the whole summer, without being able to go outside and play in the yard. The smoke, the air quality is at least 250 right now. I could look it up. The air quality outside is, yesterday it got up to 373, was the highest it got while I checked it.
What?
It's literally,
Damn.
swear to God, it's literally black clouds of fucking smoke everywhere. You can't even, so we live in a valley, and that's part of what happens to us, right? We live in a valley. So even the fires that are happening in Northern California, Washington, stuff that's happening all around us, because the way the wind moves, it blows over and it settles right above us. So it sits here for fucking weeks. And the wind, if the wind doesn't like knock it all out and stop bringing it our way, it will literally just move through. So you'll wake up and the air quality will be like 130. And then by 4 or 5 in the afternoon, it's up to 300-400. Then about 8-9 o'clock, it goes back down to maybe 200-150. You might catch like a couple hours in the middle of the night where the air quality is like 30 to 50. But it goes like this for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. No open windows. You can't drive to the rivers. Oh, but that's what I was saying. So we live in a valley, and part of what has always been so beautiful about living in a valley is you can look everywhere and you are surrounded by mountains and trees. It's some of the most gorgeous scenery. I love the Pacific Northwest specifically because of it. I've stayed in this weird place as long as I have, because I've always been so attached to the scenery and how beautiful it is, and it's not there anymore. I could go outside, and the mountains that I'm used to seeing, I will see gray shadows behind all the smoke. That's all there is. You can't live. So there's always masks. Like my children have grown up wearing masks in the summer. If they want to go outside, if we're going to run to the grocery store, because the air quality is fucking horrible. They can't be breathing that. You know what I mean? So it's honestly like, we've been wearing vlog masks and stuff like we've known for several years, because that's just been our experience, which is part of the reason why when COVID happened, one of the reasons that my life got easier when the pandemic first hit and everybody was kind of locked down is I didn't have to bring my kids with me everywhere. It literally was like, because it used to be, first of all, we were homeless together. There was nobody else. So they were with me, which is why I did the jobs that I did. I only took work where it's like my kids could come with me, or I'm working overnight while my kids are sleeping in the car with me, because those were our only options. So, but that just kind of also transferred into them wanting to be with me all the time and everywhere. So it's like all of them are going to the store with me. All of them are running errands with me. And that stopped. It had to stop. Because even with masks, they still touch everything, right?
Right.
So that helped. But we were adjusted to masks. We understood why we wear masks in the first place. It was not a new concept in this valley, because the smoke has been pushing people. I used to drive around and hand out little N95 masks to homeless people because they're outside. And it was part of Maria and Spotted Bear, 2 people that I work with, Building a Better Future. And they deliver lunches a few times a week to the homeless around here. They put up all kinds of campaigns to supply homeless people or impoverished people with help. Ezekiel goes with them a couple times a week to help to deliver. But that was that's been a normal part of their gathering every summer, is making sure that we are providing the homeless people with masks, because they're in it 24/7. They don't get away from it. It's just been a natural consequence. We live in the part of the world that's burning, and other people are living in the part of the world that's drowning. And then there are some places where it's like the water catches on fire and there's literally a fiery pit to hell in the middle of the fucking ocean. So, it's ridiculous. We actually just had COVID. COVID went through the house a couple weeks ago. And we couldn't have the doors open. There was no fresh air. And I don't even want to recall it for people who understand, but it's like that feeling when you have a fever and the air just feels dirty and disgusting because you've been sick in it, and you can't step outside for fresh air without your migraine raging because there's no fresh air. You can't open the window to just get like a light breeze. It's like, it's awful. You don't think about all the things that it impacts until it's done. You can't. It's like your tongue. I forget how often I use my tongue until I burn it, right?
Right.
And then
right.
I'm constantly like, my tongue. It's like you take for granted all of the things that you have until all of a sudden it's like, wait, I can't do that. I legit can't just open my fucking window for real. That's real life right now. Yes, it is.
Yo,
Crazy.
You're right. It's real life. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just getting used to processing some stuff. Like I've been in disasters literally all my life. So like I grew up in New Haven, and I forgot Gloria was the hurricane that hit when I was in high school. Whatever it was, it took out the electricity for a week in New Haven. I remember we were cooking. We were fortunate. We had a fireplace, so I remember we waking up mornings cooking breakfast on the fireplace. And fortunately, we had good clean water, but a lot of people didn't have fresh water, so they opened up the high schools where you could come in and take a shower. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've been through a couple of hurricanes. We had snowstorms that did the same thing with the ice storms. It would basically weight down the power lines, been without electricity for a while. I even been in a twister when I was little in Maryland. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole episode.
I don't even want to know that one. That's terrifying.
But the real good thing after all this kind of stuff is that, as you know, my parents were older than my peers' parents. So, my father was born in 1922, mother was born in 1935. So like my father literally grew up through the Depression. My mother they both grew up rural, very, very scarce resources. So in my house, we always had like essential things like canned items that weren't just canned items that you're gonna cook during the week. No, these were canned items for storage. You know what I'm saying? We had kerosene lamps throughout the whole house. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, that kind of preparedness was understood because they lived under white pathology, white racism. You know what I'm saying? So they knew that at any moment, they might not have access to shit. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of lost a little bit. I feel like as a community, we lost a little bit of that edge because of just, capitalistic society, instant things being, able to get instantly. So you're able to get fast food and instant shit, all your meals, you're able to get instant this and that. So like the whole notion that to be prepared, it's like, well, why? Because people don't, 9 times out of 10, sometimes don't even have groceries in their refrigerator, because it's like, I could just buy I just go out to the grocery store and buy X, Y, and Z when I need it. Right. So that kind of like being prepared for when shit hits the fan kind of like removed itself from a lot of our communities, and we kind of really need to get that back along with mutual aid, because those are the only things that are going to get us through this as the great, unraveling, the great undoing of the society continues to fucking happen. Because like you said, like, like checking your air quality, that's like normal shit now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like some basic things that we took for granted, like always having a full tank of gas. You know what I'm saying?
That was the first thing I did when I heard there was a fire in Ashland last year. As soon as they said the fire was in Ashland, I was like, we gotta go to the gas station. I was calling people like, make sure your gas tank is filled. And everybody's like, oh, what's going on? What? I'm like, get fucking gas. Don't wait until, and that's why we left. As soon as I saw the smoke rolling over Medford, I was like, it's coming this way. We're leaving now. And it literally, the 4-hour drive that it usually takes us to get from Medford to Portland took us 9 hours between the traffic, the smoke, people panicking and driving like fucking, you know what I mean? It's like, nah, if we would have waited till they actually gave the evacuation and everybody, there's no way. Well, and it really is, it's those little things. When I went to the gas station, I went to get gas the other day, and there were 3 trucks there, and they all had their gas cans. I got out and asked the dude in front of me what was going on. Because to me, it was just like, something is happening. People know to come fill up there. And he was just like, oh, I make sure I fill these up all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. It may have just been a coincidence. But I also started calling a couple friends like, yo, have you heard anything? I called Maria. Because I was like, there's people at the gas station filming, like multiple people right now filling up big gas cans. Is there something going on that we should know? It's like, you got to put the feelers out there. Because that is a sign, like, to me, in my PTSD, I guess. Like, that's a sign that shit could be hitting the fan. You got to stock up and be ready, you know?
Yeah.
It was just white people with trucks.
Well, you know, my brother who, you know, works down in Ashland and everything,
right,
you know,
yeah.
last year he lost everything during the fire. You know,
Yeah.
he literally, I remember he texting me and my sister, basically saying, like, your fires are coming, I gotta get up out of here, you know, and he didn't get the official notice to evacuate. But then, like a half hour, 45 minutes later, he had the official notice, and literally, like, no lie, like an hour and a half later, he's like, I lost everything.
Boom.
And I'm just like, it took me a minute to process, like, what are you talking about?
It doesn't make sense. Huh?
His whole apartment burnt down. And I'm like, I'm still not processing this. You know what I'm saying? But like, and now he's, you know, now he's fully has transformed into this person who is aware of the environment that he's in terms of being in Oregon now. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, you know, this is where we are right now. We don't, like I said, there's so many layers to this. Like, I keep bringing up the Louisiana thing because, especially in this COVID time, what we're finding is that these hospitals are filled up with COVID victims, right? The ICUs are filled up with COVID victims.
Where's the electricity?
Yeah, not only that, Louisiana, so the hospitals, not just in, you know, the city of New Orleans are filled up, outlying cities are filled up. So you can't even evacuate the hospital because there's no hospital to evacuate them to.
Right.
You know, same thing with
and
prison.
So what do all the hospital staff do? All those doctors and nurses, some of them probably could. Some of them probably have the ability to be like, I'm evacuating. I'm not that they're going to leave all the patients.
Exactly.
What do they?
Exactly. Well, same thing happens with prisons. Same things with prisons.
I hate talking about that shit.
You know,
and nobody cares because it's people in prisons. People don't have the same empathy that they do for the people that are sick in hospitals. But it's like, those are humans that are trapped, dude.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So these are all systematic structural things that multiply the intensity of these climate change things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you know, if everybody could be up in their house with AC and shit, you know, during the heat wave, you know, maybe that would be good. You know, that'd be okay. But it doesn't happen.
If we had the AC.
Right. It just doesn't happen, you know. And people.
Well, and that's another thing that I think about too when I think about fire season out here, just because you mentioned your brother. The economy out here is going to be destroyed by this. Summer is what brings people to Southern Oregon. It's fucking gorgeous here. We have the Shakespeare Festival. You can't go to the fucking Shakespeare Festival. You can't sit in the outside stadium because of the smoke. You know what I mean? We have Brit Festival. You can't go to fucking Brit Festival. You can't sit outside because of the smoke. You're going to pay $60 a ticket or some ridiculous shit to sit outside in 300 hazardous if they don't cancel it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the weed crops, all the medical marijuana. It's like just sitting in the smoke for fucking months at a time right before it's harvest season. It cannot be good for the weed. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? All of our all the shit that makes money for this valley specifically is being ruined because it cannot continue under the literal weight of the smoke that is in the air. It's insane. It's going to change the demographic of this area so much, and I don't know how. And those are three businesses, like, those are three industries I've never worked in. I've never been like a part of the performing arts out here that are like a huge deal in the summer. I've never worked in the weed. I mean, I did. I used to trim like low key before it was legal, but as like, you know, those are the days. But anyway, those are industries I'm not involved in, but it's just knowing what I know about Southern Oregon and being in this area for well over fucking 30 years now. I'm looking around like, how are we? Like, COVID was a hit for sure when things shut down, but we were dealing with little hits like that before that. Everybody's shifting. There's no shows. People aren't coming to just walk Jacksonville and shop. People aren't coming just to walk Ashland. It's smoky and disgusting. It's awful. People cannot be outside. It's just, the long term, let alone, we're lucky if certain parts of Ashland and Jacksonville would have also burnt down last year, there'd be nothing here. You know, it wiped out. What would people have done this summer for any kind of work? Like,
that's important because that means in terms of, with COVID and everything, we've already seen the restructuring of economics already happening, before our
right.
eyes. It's
Yeah.
funny. I remember it is crazy to really to really look into how shit like that will really change demographics and everything. Like you said, like I grew up in New Haven, and I remember New Haven had a downtown mall, and I remember during the beginning of the crack era, you know, there was all the propaganda in terms of how dangerous the city was and all this kind of stuff. Now the downtown mall had Macy's, like people used to come from all the white towns and stuff to shop downtown New Haven, right?
Yeah.
Once they put that narrative out, that mall closed. They opened malls more in the suburbs, right? All that money now goes there. We had a big the Coliseum. They tore that down,
Right.
which was basically where all the acts came from, monster
Yeah.
trucks to music festivals to wrestling, tore that down. So it changed the whole demographics in terms of structure
Yep.
of New Haven. And so
Right.
now things are like on a fast paced places, like you said, like when a particular area's industries are being crushed, like then what happens? There's that movie out called, was it Nomad Land? Whatever. It talks it's a great little movie. It comes off as a documentary also, but it's basically this town that doesn't exist anymore
Ugh.
because the amount of people like had to move out of the zip code because like basically an Amazon factory closed down, right?
Oh.
And that was where all the people, that's where all the business
Yep.
was. It closed down. People could not afford to even live in this particular zip code anymore. And it follows the story of this one woman
Wow.
who, basically is now living out of her car, a van and everything because, that whole area can't exist anymore. And this is where
Right.
we're heading for now in certain areas where the economics are so tied into things that are affected directly by climate change.
Right.
Like you said, the weed industry, the performing arts industry. This is, the
Right.
scenery. If these things aren't here anymore, then the money's not going to come into these places anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know?
I'm curious too, because we have buying a house in Southern Oregon, specifically is the area that I know. Maybe it's the state, but it's definitely here. Is insane. The prices that people are getting for homes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, literally everything is for sale. There's barely even anything for rent anymore because it's just like you can get like twice as much as your house was worth right now. People are just like, but then I wonder, it's like it's not all, but a lot of people from out of state are coming to Oregon, to Southern Oregon. They want to get in on the weed. I know that's what it's been for several years now. Then legal weed, and they'll buy a bunch of houses and whatever. But the smoke, like I said, they're coming here, they're buying houses, they're hating it. They're hating it because you can't breathe. Half of the money that they're investing in these industries now that they live here, it's not going to profit. So it's not going to be the same. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, next year, but it's like the growing conditions. I'm not a horticulturist, but I am fairly certain that the growing conditions cannot be the same when your plants are existing in hazardous air, right? Like it just, I don't know, but it seems like there's going to be an impact, especially over time. And I wonder how things are going to crash. I do wonder how, because all these people bought these houses for ridiculous amounts of money, and they're not going to be worth that shit when it starts hitting the fan. And it's not going to be much longer before it starts hitting the fan. We're already half burned down. Literally, like the valley is already half burned down. We're lucky we have not had another fire so far this year. And that's not even true. Remember, hey, so everybody remember on the last episode where I had my super dope microphone and my headset and I had my whole recording studio? I had to take them shits down. I went out of town mid-July, and that was the first time that I've ever gone out of town for several days without any of my children during fire season. So it became, as I was getting ready to leave, I was just like, so part of my plan to leave my house now has to be an evacuation plan for all 5 of my fucking kids. I have a minivan. I am prepared to transport 6 people any and everywhere at all times. Not everybody is nutty as me. They don't have, either they have their own kids that are already going to be in their car, so they can't fit all 5 of mine. I literally went to friends and was just like, yo, I need to know who is available these days, because if I leave town and a fire hits, my kids got to get out of there. I will not have the time to drive back, pick them all up, and drive out. Part of my plan to leave this time was not just like packing myself and making sure the kids had food and whatever. It was also like packing everybody evacuation bags. Everybody needs to pack up all the stuff that they absolutely want if we got to leave the house. It was taking down all my studio equipment and reboxing it and packaging it, because I didn't need it, and I would be fine if I didn't have it. But it's like, if I'm planning ahead, this is shit that is part of my livelihood and I've invested in and I want to be able to continue using. I got to have, and I haven't even set it back up because I don't trust that there will be a fire. But I left that weekend, and literally on your birthday, I was traipsing around Seattle and like Olympia and Bellingham, was all over the place in Washington. And then on my way home, I stopped in Portland to see you on your birthday, and everything was cool. I literally hit up all my friends. I was like, you guys are amazing. This trip was so great. Like, because I had a plan. People were ready to pick up my kids, grab their car seats. We had a plan if it was necessary. And literally an hour after I sent that message thanking everybody because I was going to be home the very next day, a fucking fire broke out, not even a mile away from my house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I had to call everybody and be like, yo, so what's the evacuation plan? And my friends were on it. Everybody was ready. They're like, give the word, we're picking up your kids. And they ended up being able to contain it pretty fast. It literally was right over the highway. It would have taken one gust of wind going the right way to land right in our neighborhood. It's just insane. It's insane. But it's part of it. It is part of what happens every time I leave the house during the summer, during the fire season. It's like, I got to make sure all my kids have an evacuation plan. They know what's up. I got to make sure everything that, I really want to come with me is available. I literally considered buying a trailer for my van because I have a hitch, and just buying a trailer for my van, having it set aside. So it's like, if there's a fire, I have several things. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 packing boxes in my bedroom right now of my things that are normally out. Because it's like, if there's a fire, these are the shits that I'm like, I gotta grab them and go. Baby pictures, some of my favorite books, letters from people that are dead. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not risking. If I can help it, if I can't, I'm grabbing my kids, we're going. Right? But it's like, if I can help it, these are the things. And it's very weird to be like, I live a season of my life now packed up as though I have to leave every minute, because it just makes me feel better. It makes me feel more secure. Right. That at least I have a shot at saving these things instead of like it was last year when it just tore through and it was like, fuck it, get in the van, we're going. I literally don't care. If you never see it again, you never see it again. Oh, well, you know what I mean? It was not a good feeling.
I can imagine. That's all I can, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
But yeah, like you said, that's part of the new normal. But like you said, like a little part of the thing is like, I've already talked to some of my friends in California, and they've already said how like the the Emerald Triangle, the Green Triangle, whatever, where the green and where the weed is grown, and the impact of the fires there. They said there's already shifting in terms of to a lot of places in Southern California now in terms of growers, because that traditional triangle is being so assaulted by the fires right now. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, like people made an investment to move into Southern Oregon to try to break into that weed market. But once again, climate change is like, that's not there.
I mean, and we have a water shortage.
Oh yeah.
There's places all over here. When I took my kids wanted to go play in the water the other day, So I was going to take them to one of our favorite spots. It's a bunch of hiking trails that just has a little creek that you can wade in. It doesn't get too deep. There's like fast spots because it's all very shallow. So it's like fun to play in and kind of exciting. But none of it goes more than like maybe knee deep for little kids, right? There's no fucking water there. There's no fucking water there. There's not even like wet mud. It's dirt. The whole fucking hiking trail, everywhere there's dirt. There's nothing. Mount Shasta has no fucking snow on it. There's no fucking snow on Mount Shasta. That's an issue. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not just that everything's on fire. There's also the part where it's like, we have a water shortage. So growing your weed just became an issue because it's sitting in shit smoke, and you watering it is literally taking water away from other parts of the, like, people who need it for, like, we're going to need to drink still. We're going to need to grow actual fucking food still. We're going to have to keep things moist enough that they don't catch on fire still. We're going to have to be able to put out fire still. It's like, it is a perfect shitstorm of just like bad things happening. It literally keeps me up at night. I literally spend nights like, what's going to happen to my children, dude?
Well, like you said, like that kind of choices or not choices, layering or connectiveness is what we deal with all over. Like let's take Afghanistan for instance. Like those fields that were converted to grow opium. You know what I'm saying? Where used to be fields that farmers were growing food. You know what I'm saying? You know, so like, you know, once there, you know, the international opium market, because it's the international opium market, you know, there's not like, it's just like with Colombia and places in South America, like the cocaine market itself is not, you know, it's not Colombia. It's like the United States. It's like the West, you know, it's like Europe. Like this is where they're exporting to. It's the same thing with Afghanistan, you know, like Russia and you know, the European world. This is they're exporting to. But because of that, it caused them to have to transform or being forced to transform literally life-sustaining freaking agriculture into a drug agriculture. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what's happening, like you said, in Northern California and Southern Oregon. You know, even those people who's moving there for the weed market, you know, you got a water shortage. You know, and that water shortage means that water is going to be diverted, you know, from little things you need to survive to now a cash crop per se. You know what I'm saying? And so like,
you can turn these people, right? Because it creates jobs. But it's like, it's frustrating because I don't know what the answer is, but I know it's got to be less excess. And that is how a lot of it feels here. It's like Oregon has had incredible growing conditions and provided a bunch of weed since Oregon. Do you know what I mean? It's like them making it like medically legal and then recreationally legal just made it easier for everybody to do what we'd all already been doing because it's Oregon. We've been here. It's everybody coming here all of a sudden to like cash in on it. That is creating this weird excess. And that's part of the problem too. I just feel like it's like we were talking about with food, having your own home. If people had equal access, if there were equity across the board, get your own home. Use your own yard to grow your own weed and your own vegetables, and you can share and exchange and work with friends and do farmers markets, that's whatever. But to try to turn everything into these big billion-dollar businesses, it's excess and it's unnecessary and it's legitimately destroying the fucking planet and all of our lives. Because that's the thing, it's destroying the planet, but it's not going to like destroy the planet. The planet's going to get tired of our shit. She's going to shake us off. We're just waiting to be dinosaurs, right? Like the dinosaurs didn't ruin the earth. The earth was just like, you're not sustainable anymore, bitch. case, and the dinosaurs were gone. And that's what she's going to do to us too. It's just like, look, it's honestly like, relationship isn't working out for me anymore. He and y'all can fuck off. And then she will adjust to be something else, and we will not be able to survive.
Right.
Okay. And that's what I think people really miss. It's like, we're making it inhospitable for ourselves. It's not necessarily, it's not just what we're doing to the earth. It's like what we are forcing the earth to do to us.
Right.
It's like we are backing her into a corner where she's just like, oh, okay, well, now you don't have any water and everything's on fucking fire. So good luck with that, guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's definitely where we are. That's definitely where we are right now. And I mean, and at the end of the day, we the answer has always been there. We just need to have the right people on the same page, which is, we know that, Black, indigenous, traditional ways will save the earth. You know what I'm saying? Will save society. You know what I'm saying? We know that the structural institutional racism, environmental racism is what fucks all this shit up, right? So I was just reading, I was just reading a piece about how the architecture is also racist, meaning that, architecture as structured in the United States really wasn't reflective of the indigenous architectural practices, which is kind of stupid. You're trying to make a house as though, you were building in northern fucking Europe. Not same conditions, y'all, not same conditions. There's a reason, like the way that, indigenous people, Black people, traditionally have structured their architecture is to be in tune with the weather and the environment. You know what I'm saying? So we literally, we literally build fucking brick oven houses. You know what I'm saying? With no windows that could even do like cross drafts or shit. You know what I'm saying? We destroy flora to the point that we have we have invasive plants versus indigenous plants who serve a purpose in the area, whether it's in terms of keeping the area cool, because they're not supposed to be blacktop everywhere. That's dumb. And the indigenous plants are set up to retain and hold on to water, to create safe places for water to be stored under the earth and stuff. But we get rid of them and put in some crazy plants that take more water, you know what I'm saying, from the soil and stuff. So like these answers are already there. So it's literally just like going back and extracting what we need to do from that. And in our own enclaves, keep adding on to that. And another major thing is that these corporations just need to be held accountable and destroyed. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like these corporations that are literally raping other countries' resources, fucking, making us overly dependent on fossil fuels without any type of alternative for the future. We need to get rid of those shits, because they're the accelerators of this climate change and this inequity that we're dealing with.
Right. No, and it's so obvious. It's so painfully obvious, honestly.
Right.
Just like looking outside is disgusting.
Right.
It's so beautiful here in the summer. Like my whole life. I mean, it is honestly like painful in my heart to think about how, and I know that this is true for every generation, but just to think about how different it is going to be raising my kids here than it was for me being raised here. Because the summers here, man, were like everything. They always were.
Right.
And just even little things like that, like having your garden or like your friend's first pot plant, you know what I mean? Just then all those things, like those are not experiences that you guys will have here. Having a garden is like what I don't even know what we would do with a garden right now. But I'm tired of the lawn. I mean, I've argued about the lawn since last year, quite frankly, because it's like watering it is irresponsible. We don't have the water just to waste on grass. What the fuck does grass do for any of us? Why? Why are we just poor? But if you don't water it, then it dries out and it just makes it a fire hazard. So I've literally just been like, dig it out. What do we need grass for? Make it rocks or something. My grandparents had a rock yard. Their front yard was a rock yard my whole life.
What?
It was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. They had all these sculptures in it
Uh-huh.
And they just used different color rocks. Like they had lighter rocks over here, and then they had like a bluey kind of rocks that went through that made it look like a little stream. And they had a bunch of boulders. Like I remember being a kid and driving to the ocean with them, like the Oregon coast specifically, and stealing rocks.
Wow.
Like literally stealing, because you're not supposed to. We would find just like the prettiest boulders, or like me and my sister, and just like whatever little pebbles we would collect, they would just like add to the rocks in the yard. So they didn't, and it was beautiful. And
You know,
it was sustainable.
it's sustainable, and I think one of the simplest things that people can do is just look up what the regional flora and fauna is,
Yes.
and transform your lawn to that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and also like make part of it edible. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right.
but go in tune with what is already around us. I mean, like, it can't be that hard to just be like, okay, plants that that were indigenous here
Right.
are indigenous because they're literally in tune with the needs of this area.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so like I
Yeah.
think that's part of what we, you know, fully need to,
Yeah.
you know, double back on. And it also with foods, local foods and stuff
It's
also, I feel
important.
like, yeah, just like, yeah, like that'll be part of the reset of these particular areas. And in some areas it's shifting so far off that you have to do some innovation. You know,
Serious.
but yeah,
Yeah.
part of definitely it takes us transforming this environment ourselves, because I really feel like we're on the slow burn right now. Society is resetting itself and collapsing, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, what do we need to do, you know, out there and
So
everything,
many things. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oregon State has an extension program like 15 minutes away from the Master Gardeners program.
Oh, really?
And I'm in the middle of so many yoga schools. I'm literally in 3 yoga schools right now. I'm trying to finish my 300. I know, dude, I'm literally every day I have class, but I'm already like looking at other classes, but I've really been considering it. Like that will probably be, once I'm done with all my yoga classes in the fall, sometime next year in the spring, I will probably take that master gardening class just to get a little bit more information and understanding about how to help things grow here. You know, depending on what is even like feasible. Because I think it's so important. And if everybody were growing food, it's not even a new concept. It's just it's just like if everybody were growing food instead of fucking grass. Are you making wheatgrass shots for the neighborhood with that grass, friend? Because if you are, then I'll back off. Nobody's getting wheatgrass shots out of your fucking lawn. Like, I can't.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, like I said, a lot of the issues that we deal with is that people, like I said, basically during colonial settler first eras, they basically wanted to recreate Europe here. You know what I'm saying? And it destroyed the environment, from the invasive species they bought to like when they bought pigs and let them run feral on the ground, to, you know, the over dependence of like, oh, we have free feed for fucking cows, you know, and all this
I
kind
always
of stuff.
thought about that with that Noah's Ark story. It's like, how does he know all those animals were meant to be? Like, he's taking them to a spot. You don't even know if it's like a place that they can survive. Like, it seems kind of irresponsible, Noah, but whatever. Because it's true. Like, parts of the world are different for a reason. You know, for a reason. That's just like the way there's seasons for a reason. Things work in a particular way, and it's always trying to control that and shift that instead of finding where you fit, right?
Yep.
Trying to like force things to fit you. It never works out in like any situation. I can't think of a single scenario where it's ever paid off. It's fucking frustrating.
It is.
Miserable.
It is. This is why, you know, this is a whole nother story that we've gone, but this is why a lot of the interactions that happen historically between Black and Indigenous people were so in harmony, because, you know, they were just like, this is something we use in our land for this. It's like, oh, what do you have here that's similar to that? You know what I'm saying? And there was an exchange of information, and even of the things that were brought. So if we did bring particular plants or whatever, it was the exchange of information and how to utilize them within the whole holistic structure. You know what I'm saying? To the point that even some, you know, indigenous bands, when they were basically chased off of their ancestral lands and they knew that Black people were still going to be, you know, there, they passed over some of that information and basically made Black people the stewards of that particular knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just like, like, yeah, we trust y'all. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Right.
we trust y'all not to fuck this shit up and to use it for what it's supposed to be used for. And,
Right.
and this kind of interaction and synergy is where we're at today, even with everything that we're going through. I feel like that's the kind of page that we have to be on.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
You know?
We can do that too, though. We'll drop in the link or in the comments, we will drop the link that Shaw shared with us earlier for any BIPOC people impacted by Ida. But there's also a couple of resources we can drop as far as like ways to help conserve water, or petitions you can sign. Like, I mean, you still got lead pipes and shit. Right, do you know what I mean? So it's like even the I know. Like I literally, when that whole thing came out about like who doesn't shower every day, I'm like, why would you shower every day? Why are you doing so? Learn how to wipe properly. A whore's bath is still a bath. You don't need a whole ass shower every day if you're feeling extra funky. But really, it's like tell the kids in Flint they need to take a shower every day because those kids were just fucking taking showers and sitting in water that poisons them. So tell them that they. Right? Tell those mothers that their kids need to take a shower every day, sitting in poison fucking water. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's so many layers to the water issue that it's like everybody up in arms about who's showering every day and who isn't. It's just like if you're funky, you're funky. I don't know what else to say about that because it's like the water issue is way bigger than whether or not people are showering every day. I just thought it was so weird that people cared because it's like, there are still people in this country that don't have access to water though, right? Like, that's still a thing. So this is a weird argument to be having about what is and is not appropriate. Anyway, there's a lot of links. There's several links I can think of right now that we can drop in the comments for people who are interested in ways to pay attention to that or help with that.
Let's do that, And I think that this is actually a good point for us to wind it up because we've been on here about the hour thing.
About an hour.
We could, we back.
It was really nice to be back and talk with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk and we've seen each other.
Right.
But it's fun to do this with you.
Word up. Yeah, so the next week after, not next week, but the week after. So
the 15th, right? Today's the 1st, so September 15th.
Yep. So same back time, same back channel.
Hey!
Dynamic duo come through. Also, this will be up on all streaming platforms. It'll be up on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for all that, John. And just, keep an eye on us and, thank you for coming
make sure you follow the Instagram page too. Follow us on Instagram.
Right. We'll drop all that in the links too.
Yeah. Because, every once in a while I catch fans on the Facebook and it makes it just cool for me to update y'all what's going on. They like me a little better on Instagram. So just in case, might be a good idea to follow our page on Instagram. The world is ending and I keep calling people cunts and I keep getting There you go, guys. We'll drop that in the comments.
All right, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.
Yep, love. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.